Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Paul Abu Bakr Cooper and I'm joined by Laura. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Good to be on Friday night.
And today, inshallah, we're going to be presenting a little summary of some of the key things that we've spotted in this week's news. I've got to say, Laura, I did my utmost this week planning.
You did.
Because last week Zafar got upset that we had too much on Donny.
There's too much Donald Trump, but
Yeah.
he hasn't been quiet this week, but he's not invaded anyone this week, so there's still time. But
Not yet, but it looks like it's going to happen, doesn't it?
it does. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not even sure if he's mentally stable enough to be a president. It's actually quite worrying that he's allowed to be in charge of a country with nuclear weapons and just do what he does.
Anyway, inshallah, we'll chat again in a little while because we're a little bit pushed for time this week because we've got some very valuable young guests with us. I'm just going to give you the angle of what we want to talk about. So we wanted to talk about work experience, folks. So just give you a little bit of background. According to the UK Youth Employment Group, over 60% of young people say work experience improves their confidence and employability. However, many of them struggle to access good, meaningful placements. So locally, Inspire Youth works locally in Luton to provide structural opportunities for Muslim youth, helping to bridge education and give them real-world skills experience. And this is really important, folks, because increasingly employers are looking for what they call soft skills. So people that are good in communication, teamwork, time management, not just what they can do within qualifications. So we've got two students with us. We've had them now 2 weeks. They actually finished today. And they actually spectated with me and Laura on one of our shows a week ago. And I was chatting with them. And I bumped into them this week on Tuesday. And I had the idea, and I said, "Assalamu alaikum." I said, do you want to come on my show on Friday? And they said, yeah. So, inshallah ta'ala, I'd like to introduce you all to Muhammad and Zakaria. So, Muhammad first. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your school.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'm Muhammad. I'm 14, and I go Jamiatul Ulum al-Islamiyah. It's a great school, and I'm doing well there.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah.
So what nature of the school is it? Is it private? Is it a religious school?
It's a private Islamic school. We talk about Islam. It's one of our GCSE subjects as well. And yeah.
Okay. Can you just tell us a little bit about? So what do you feel that you've learned most in your 2 weeks here at Inspire FM Radio?
Of course, I've learned about working in a professional environment.
Yeah.
So it's not like your home or it's not like your school. You're working with real responsibilities. So that taught me responsibility, I guess. That's the biggest thing I think I learned.
Yeah. Okay. And Zakaria, how about you? What do you feel you've learned this week? Oh, the 2 weeks, sorry.
In these few weeks, I feel like I've learned, responsibility, as Mohammed mentioned, but I also learned that not every workplace has to be a place of seriousness. You can also have fun, do what you like, and also feel like you're part of something as well.
Alhamdulillah. I gotta say, I mean, I've been working now on and off with Inspire FM as a volunteer. Crumbs. Must be well over 15 years now.
I think you told me another figure, but I'm not going to out you for that.
Oh, was it? Did I get it wrong?
I think you said 20 years before.
Was it? Oh, I don't think so.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Yeah, alhamdulillah. So, but both of you, what are your hopes and dreams for the future? What are you hoping to do?
Zakaria, go first.
I'm just trying to be stable, but I'd like to become a pharmacist.
Oh yes, you told me that earlier. I remember that we were chatting. Yeah, and I told you my sister-in-law's a pharmacist. Yeah. And how about you, sir?
I'm not 100% sure right now.
Yeah.
But right now I'm thinking to become an engineer. Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. Okay, so later in the year, who do you think is going to have a good go at the World Cup? Because I know you're both football fans. Who are you going to be supporting first of all?
England.
England, yeah.
England.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. it's nice that we get that out there, because a lot of times people have the idea that boys at our Muslim schools, it's like, oh, they're cut off and they're going to a religious school with the imams and but folks, I can assure you, I actually worked in a Muslim school for the first 7 years of my teaching career, and they're just normal boys. Football is their first religion. So yeah, alhamdulillah. So you're really looking forward to it. So you think do you think England are in with a good chance?
Yeah, England definitely has a good chance.
Yeah.
Have decent chance, yeah.
If you'd have asked me this when I was your age, I would have said no way.
Definitely not.
I would have said we'd be lucky to get to the quarterfinals. But I agree with you. The first time in my life ever, the last sort of 10 years watching football, I've actually been excited to think, yeah, we're actually in with a big fighting chance. So, okay, so folks, I'm gonna release our guests, and the reason is, where is it you're off to, gentlemen? Tell the listeners.
Football.
You got training, haven't you?
Training.
All right, I'm
That's
going. Okay, inshallah. So we'll bid you both salam. Enjoy your training. Thank you for the time, the 2 weeks that you spent with us, Inspire. And just one thing, promise us, let us know how successful you are with your education, your exams, what you'll be doing in the future. Yeah?
We'll be back in Ramadan.
Yeah?
We'll be back in Ramadan.
Oh, excellent. So, all right, alhamdulillah, we'll look forward to seeing you, inshallah.
It's been a
Jazakallah
pleasure
khair.
to inspire.
All right.
For taking good care of us.
All right,
That's
thank
all
you.
right. Thank you. for coming
Jazakallah
in.
khair.
It's been a
Assalamu
great
alaikum,
2
boys.
weeks.
Assalamu
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa salam.
Walaikum salam. We'll move over a bit.
So, mashallah, I hope any businesses out there, and remember, we're going out today to Peterborough, Derby, other parts of the Midlands,
Sheffield.
Nottingham, Sheffield. So all you Muslim businesses out there, the enthusiasm that you get if you get some young people really engaged with what you're doing, if you can get them to love you and what you're doing, who knows? You might have a great recruit. I'll never forget, you know what, Laura? You know Vision Express in town?
Yes.
I'll never forget going there probably about 15 or more years ago, and there was a young lad there. I've forgotten his name now, and he was doing work experience there.
Yeah.
And then he got a job there working as a floor assistant.
Mm-hmm.
Then he went off to university and he did his optics training.
Yeah.
And he eventually came back to that store
To be an optician.
as an optician.
Wow.
So that just goes to show, folks, if you have a student and you nurture them, they will love you and they will want to come back, and you may start off someone's big career.
Honestly, because I've been working them a lot closer over the last 2 weeks, because I've been here every day. This is my day job as well, being here. And they've been fantastic, and they've been really engaged and really helping support us with Ramadan prep, because obviously it's just around the corner, as we all know. And we have a lot of work to do here at Inspire FM, but luckily they've been really, really helpful. So I think it's really important for businesses to look at getting these young people having work experience there.
I just pop in Tuesday lunchtime, pop in
Go through that.
Friday evening, and other than that, I'm just off relaxing. Yeah. There is a reason I have the nap. I told you.
Yeah, you have told me.
Yeah.
I just take the nick out of him every time.
Actually, we're talking about a really, really important women's health issue a bit later.
Definitely.
Anyway, so what we wanted to talk about the next one, and we were laughing about this earlier in the week, weren't we, Laura?
Honestly.
The conforms.
The conforms.
Go on, Laura. Explain to the listeners what we decided with the conforms.
So essentially, what has happened? We all know what's been happening in the last 13 years. We've had a Tory government, as we well know, and everyone that was basically, I think it's most of Liz Truss's cabinet, have now gone on to join the Reform Party.
Yeah, apparently it's the majority of Liz Truss's cabinet have left the Conservatives.
Left the Conservatives. They're now gone to Reform. I find it so funny and ironic, because obviously Nigel Farage prior to this was like, I've got to come out with this. I nearly forgot. Yeah.
Oh, we were speaking about this about 2 weeks ago. Right. Sorry about this, listeners. I know I sound a bit silly getting excited. So 2 weeks ago on 2 weeks ago yesterday, Thursday morning on LBC, Nick Ferrari was doing his morning show. I was getting ready and I had the radio in the bathroom where I was getting dressed, and he was interviewing. Someone came on from somewhere in London, and he was talking about Robert Jenrick. So literally the night before, he'd just defected and moved over to Reform. And this listener was rang in, and he said, "Well, he said, you know, Nick, he said, the best way to describe these people is you know the bottom of your bin, you know, when it gets emptied and you've got all of that nasty stuff at the bottom, and then you've got like that liquid sort of moving about."
Yeah.
So Nick said, "Yes." And he said, "Well," he said, "Well." And word for word, this is exactly what the listener said. He said, "Well, he said, that's what these people are. They're just bin Jews," and that's been in my mind. And I've been wanting to bring this up since. And Nick was listening, and he went like that, and he quickly got his composure back.
Yeah, because
I've got to say, actually, it's one of the funniest things I've heard on the radio for a long time.
It is accurate, though. I mean, Nigel Farage actively said that they were different to the Conservative Party and they wouldn't take any jumpers from the Conservative Party previously. And he's now taken on a lot of jumpers from the Conservative Party. People like Suella Braverman, who, despicable human being, I can't stand her. I'll say that with chest. Can't stand the woman. And Robert Jenrick, who might be the most boring man alive.
Well, what I thought we'd do, presenters, what I thought I'd do, listeners, is we thought we'd actually present you with a comparison with what current Tory Conservative policies are and what current Reform policies are. Because the thing is, we keep hearing this. When Robert Jenrick defected, and just a couple of days ago when Suella Braverman defected, we heard both of them say very negative stuff about their party.
Yeah.
You know, and this is the party that Suella Braverman had been a member of for 30 years.
Well, she also got sacked from them, didn't she? And then reinstated, and then sacked again, I'm pretty sure.
Wow.
Which is quite an achievement. I think only Priti Patel's done that, and you know. Pretty much one of the same, those two, because they've got very similar ideas about anyone that isn't them. Put it that way.
Well, the one that came to my mind that I think is going to interest many of our listeners, because this one actually impacts my own family very strongly. So listen, you all know, but I'm actually married to a woman who was born and brought up here, of Indian Gujarati background. And the angle that I'm looking specifically on is the immigration policy of the Reform are saying. So we'll perhaps take turns on this. I'll read the immigration one out. So the Conservatives say they're going to focus and put a legal cap on migration and about removing illegal migrants to third countries, for example, Rwanda. Now, this is the interesting. This one has actually come out in about the last month. Now, Reform, they've actually said that they're going to institute a freeze on all non-essential immigration, and they are going to abolish the ILR. That's the indefinite leave to remain. Now, what this means, folks, some of you may not know, but many of the people, and they're now now often the grandparents or great-grandparents' generation, the people that typically came here perhaps in the 1960s.
Yeah.
Although they had the opportunity to do so, they didn't at any time take on a British passport.
Well, they didn't want to, you know, which is their right.
Yeah, but they went through all of the legal channels, and so they get the stamp in their passport, they pay for it, and it's called the ILR, the indefinite leave to remain. This is what my mother-in-law has. So we're talking about the grandmother of my children.
Yeah.
So she is ILR. So this is what Reform have said that they want to completely abolish for is people that have that ILR. So where is that going to put? And that's going to affect a lot of people in our community. So literally,
It's hundreds of people, and also it's the
thousands.
cost. Yeah,
Thousands.
And it will be the cost as well, because obviously once you get indefinite leave to remain, you don't have to keep renewing it like you do other visas. But under this new plan, they scrap indefinite leave to remain. You know, people are going to have to pay thousands of pounds every 2.5 years to update their visa. And this is going to be incredibly costly and unobtainable for some people, where they'll have no choice to return to countries that they've not lived in for decades.
Yeah, and here's the irony. We're now in a situation where the birth rate in this country is now down to 1.4 children per couple.
Mm-hmm.
When it drops below 2.2, the population is no longer steady.
Yeah.
It's shrinking. And this is the irony. All we keep hearing all of the time is immigration. And honestly, I keep hearing all this. It's just a smoke screen. We've got schools now, left, right, and centre, closing in London. You know that.
You've got classes closing. Even in Luton, they're reducing class sizes, and it's easier to get a school place in schools if you've got a child now than it was, 10 years ago, where you'd be fighting for a place. Some schools you don't even have to worry about that. You're definitely getting in.
Yeah.
Also, my issue is this freeze on non-essential immigration. What is essential immigration? What is that? They're all very vague words that are used, because they said certain migrants will lose their indefinite leave to remain. Non-essential immigration. What are those things? They're not very clear.
Well, we're now in a situation. We've got 1 person in 4 in the National Health Service is from overseas.
Yeah.
Now, we're in a situation, if we make it more difficult for people to come, for example, if we say, because this is one of the things different politicians have been saying, that they won't be able to bring their families.
Yeah.
Well, if you've got a family,
you're going to go somewhere.
Why would you come here if you can go somewhere else and take your family?
Well, they're going to look at the Middle East, aren't they, where they don't have to pay tax, where ironically a lot of British people are also going so that they don't have to pay tax as well.
Yeah.
But they're going to go to these places where they don't have to pay tax, they can bring their family, they can live a really good life and get paid a lot more. People don't get paid a lot in the NHS. And if you're then saying, you also alongside that, you can't bring your family over, you can't do this, you can't do that, what is the incentive to come here? And, as someone that's previously, you've previously trained to be a doctor, I did midwifery for a bit as well. It's training nurses, midwives, doctors are capped for a reason, because they need to get a good education. They need to have the right placements in hospitals to make sure that they're safe practitioners. And they can't just when the government talked about just randomly upping this before, I was like, that doesn't work like that, because we're losing experienced staff as it is. And they're not going to be there to teach these young people or old people how to be doctors, nurses and midwives. So then we have to rely on foreign nationals to come over and join our NHS, but then they're not going to want to. So under reforms plans, the NHS might not exist.
The next one I wanted us to take the listeners through, perhaps because I don't want us to run out of time, I want us to be able to get through all of this. If we could jump to the environment policy.
Yeah, definitely.
So perhaps you could go through that, Laura, with the listeners. Because I've actually put all the figures there for the changes over the last 5 or 6 years that we've had in our fuel bills. And
it's a lot.
It's actually quite shocking, actually.
So for the Tories, the leader, Kemi Badenoch, has pledged to repeal the Climate Change Act. But Reform are going to demand an immediate scrap of net zero targets and all associated green. It just says green. I'm going to guess costs with it. So obviously, we can all talk about the energy crisis since the invasion of Ukraine. That's when we first saw skyrocketing bills. In 2022, they went from £1,277 in October 2021 to £1,971 in April 2022. Bearing in mind this is on an average price. Per household. It varies from household to household. They then peaked in 2023, where some households were paying up to £3,000 plus per year, just for electricity and gas. It's stabilised more last in 2024, went back down to 1,928. But the price cap is now set as of this year to £1,758 per year for a typical household. That's still a lot of money. It's considerably more expensive.
Well, what listeners perhaps don't realise is that when we keep hearing all of this, and it's a big policy of the current government, the drive towards net zero, they don't realise who's paying for it. We're paying for it.
We are.
Every customer is paying for it. A lot of people don't know this. There's actually a levy on everyone's bill to pay for all of this equipment changeover.
Yeah.
So we're paying for it.
And the people in Luton are paying for it as well.
Yeah.
Vauxhall shut down because of the because in 2030 you will not be able to buy any cars that are not electric, and it would cost too much to change the production lines in Luton and in Ellesmere Port to all electric lines. I think Ellesmere Port was already an all electric line anyway. So they shut Vauxhall and Luton as a result.
Yeah.
So, we've already lost jobs in this town alone from net zero.
And that's a direct consequence. So there's an example, folks. The loss of Vauxhall is directly related to this policy of forcing everyone over to electric cars. And this is the thing. We were promised that left, right and centre in every workplace, in every school car park, that there were going to be electric chargers.
Yeah.
That's what they were saying over 10 years ago. Where are they?
They're not. And there isn't the infrastructure. I think the nearest place, I have seen it on the A5 between like Hotcliffe and Milton Keynes, there is like somewhere you can pull over with a Starbucks. I mean, boycott anyway. You can charge your electric car, but it's not sustainable. There isn't enough chargers out there. My friend's just got an electric car as a mobility car, and she's finding it really difficult to charge her car. She doesn't have a house charger. These cost thousands to put in anyway. It's a big problem. I think we should skip to the international next, because obviously this is most relevant to what's going on in the world at the minute. I don't know if you want to go for that one, Paul.
Okay, so the Conservatives, they're saying that they're committed to NATO standards and they're reaching 2.5% of gross domestic product spending by 2038. The reform, they propose 2.5% of gross domestic product spending by 2027, so that's in a year's time, rising to 3% by 2030. And they faced criticism over some saying that they need that they want to take a more decisive stance on NATO's role in the Ukraine conflict. So they're actually saying that we should be involved actively in Ukraine.
It's such a controversial. I don't think there is a clear answer for Ukraine, the war, and whether we should get involved. I think if we get involved, that we all know that creates World War III, and nobody wants that. That's why NATO have been very careful, even when Poland has been accidentally bombed by Russia. Well, which is a NATO country, they've been very careful not to overstep.
I don't know if you'll agree with me, but I mean, because of what we do, we both sort of look at politics all the time. We analyse why things are happening, what's going on. My analysis of the Ukraine war is that Ukraine are never, ever going to be able to win it. It's inevitable. No. It's absolutely inevitable they're going to lose, because they're against the world's second largest military power. And all we're doing by just supplying them stuff, even though it's like 300 billion a year, and typically that's what's being spent by countries around the world and above, all we're doing is prolonging the agony. Because it's inevitable Russia is going to win. And I firmly believe if it came to it, rather than lose, I think Russia would use the A-bomb.
I'd like to hope they wouldn't. I think President Trump might use it before then, to be honest, on Iran. But that's another story entirely. But given how he's been this week, who's going to use it first at this point? I also want to mention a little thing about reform. They want to replace the Equality Act, and I think this is a big issue for Muslims. The Equality Act does protect us to our right of being able to practice our religion, irrespective of your race, gender, all of that, you are able to practice Islam. And I think it's quite a scary world where the Equality Act goes, and also the Human Rights Act as well, which reform have been quite categorical and repelling as well. So I'm concerned. I'm really genuinely concerned for us as Muslims. I also find it really ironic that the guy that's funding
Essentially, folks,
is a Muslim.
as a community, yeah, Zia Yusuf,
Yusuf
he's their big spokesman. He's
Yeah.
like the number 2 with Nigel Farage. His family originally came from Sri Lanka,
Mm-hmm.
and the Muslim family. So, yeah, I suppose enough said. But this is the thing, folks. This is why we need to be active in politics, understand what's going on. Because if we don't know what's going on, then we're going to be completely sidelined. Right, folks, we're down to the end of our first half. We've got about 5 seconds to go. So, inshallah ta'ala, we'll catch you on the second half. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum. I pushed the wrong one out. I pushed that one out.
Take it off just in case, because it will pick up otherwise. Hang on 1 second, I'm just going to go next door and check on that.
أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على حي على الفلاح حي على
I'm being nice by you now.
Oh, is she there? Okay, great. She's on.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah, so I leave her.
yeah. See if you can develop. You know that. Well, it's up to you because it could be one big person. But you know that thing.
Endometriosis?
Yeah, because it's a massive
Yeah.
problem that women have, and there's often very little information going out there.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to feel free and run with it. Have I got to pull the PC one down?
Yes, up.
So I leave the PC one up.
pull it down and then pull it back up.
Sorry.
Pull it down, and then when we introduce Nina, pull it back up.
Oh. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you folks? Welcome back. Okay, inshallah. So the second half, something that caught our eye this week was a news story which really sort of shocked us, and that's to do with Alzheimer's and a possible link with women going through the menopause. So just give you a bit of background, and I was actually shocked when I came across this. I didn't know 2/3 of people with Alzheimer's are women. This is according to Alzheimer's Society itself. And research has shown that when there is a drop in estrogen during the menopause, it affects brain function and memory pathways in women.
Mm-hmm.
And many women experience. I mean, when you hear this phrase, I've heard it many times. Women describing brain fog, or difficult thinking, memory lapses, connected with the menopause. And then, of course, this link, which I saw in the news, I thought, yes, we've got to add this week and talk about it, because it's affecting half our population. And of course, for us as Muslims, paradise is at the feet of our mothers. For us, we are very much a matriarchal society. Our mothers are number one in our society. So this really, and plus, I've got, of course, I'm married. And I've also got a daughter in her 20s. And I looked at this, I thought, wow. So for example, problems, for example, to do with sleep, stress management, and all of this happens. And what the research has shown, that there's a lot in the part of the brain called the grey matter. That's where the actual the actual functional part of the cells of the brain cells are in that part of the brain. And it seems to be this is what is linked with the loss of memory and emotional changes, and of course dementia that possibly some are finding. Now, the research of this was actually quite a lot. So this comes from studying 125,000 women. So it's a big study, Laura.
It's a huge study,
Yeah.
and it's fantastic to see women's health being studied as well, because it doesn't happen a lot.
And of those 125,000, 11,000 of them had that specialist MRI brain scan. And so this was research that was the senior order was a Professor Barbara Sahakian at Cambridge University, and she's quoted as saying that the brain regions where we saw these differences are the ones that tend to be affected by Alzheimer's disease. So it's a very interesting link. So we've actually got an expert here to help us plot our way, as it were, through this, because obviously we're just humble presenters. We're not experts. So we're very pleased. We've got joining us Dr. Nina Pearson, who is a medical specialist in women's health and neurology. Are you there, Nina?
No, you can't. I'll unmute. Can you hear me okay? Is that a good link?
Yes, I've got you now. Oh,
Thank you.
Hello, Dr. Pearson. We're very pleased to have you. So this research that we found this week that we were really keen to go through, this probable or plausible link with menopause, the decrease in estrogen and the effect that it's having on the brains of women and possibly linked to Alzheimer's. I mean, what's your expert opinion on this? What could you help us understand, please?
Sure. Okay. So I'm a GP and have been for many, many years, and I've had an interest in women's health and have been following and keeping up to date with the evidence around the menopause and how to help women. And this was a very interesting headline this week. There's a big study, obviously done by a very reputable university and published, and therefore can be validated and checked by other experts in the field. So 125,000 women is a large study. And looking at how they've approached this, there's been a lot of questionnaires for all of those participants to assess their psychological well-being and to assess their memory and their sleep symptoms. And then a subgroup of those, only 11,000 went to have a scan of their brain, an MRI of their brain. And so that's showing the decrease in the grey matter, the area of the brain that is most important for memory and emotions and movement. So that is really interesting and could lead to some more understanding of those symptoms that women describe as they get into the period of time around the menopause, which we call the perimenopause, and then once they stop having estrogen and stop having periods, then they are called menopausal. So I think it's raised some interesting questions. It's a good study. It would need further work to perhaps track those women, those 11,000, track them for the next few years and see exactly what happens to them. So do they go on to get Alzheimer's disease, or actually do they not? Was this an observation, but actually doesn't give rise to the loss of memory that would then qualify for a diagnosis of Alzheimer's? What the study showed was that women who had not entered the menopause, had still got their hormones, their grey matter was preserved. Those women who had hormone replacement therapy, their level of functioning was better. Those who didn't have hormone replacement therapy, then they showed lower scorings on the memory assessments and on the other symptoms like anxiety and depression. But as I say, this needs further work, and I think we should watch this space for the future.
Can I just ask, so you said the women in that group, the ones that were having hormone replacement therapy, they were showing less loss. Could you just give us an idea what sort of proportion of women, under the advice of their GP, are advised to try HRT? What sort of proportion is it?
I think I would find that very hard to quantify at the moment. Menopause and menopause symptoms has rightly come into the understanding and the media and become much more of a topic to talk about, both for women in small groups are talking about menopause and menopause symptoms more often. The media is following it, and we're getting more discussion taking place. So I would say in the last 2 to 3 years, there has been a very definite increase in the number of women wishing to talk about the symptoms that they've had to ascertain, is this menopause or isn't it? What are the ways of helping my symptoms at the moment? And to come to a decision about whether to take treatment with HRT or not. I would say the increase recently is probably a 25 to 30% increase, and we can see the prescribing of HRT in some parts of our town in Luton has increased very significantly, but there are other parts where women are not managing. Either they're not coming forward to talk about it, or they're not being able to access the right kind of support and advice to make those decisions. So there is a bit of a disconnect, really. It's not a universal access and universal information for women at the moment in Luton.
Dr. Pearson, could I ask, could you talk a little bit about what menopause symptoms are? Because there might be some women out there that are experiencing these symptoms but don't actually know what menopause is, or have never had that education when it comes to women's health.
Certainly, that's a really good question. So there's often a clustering of symptoms. So you don't have to have all of these. They can be in any combination. The menopause, the average age of the menopause is 51 in this country. So, but symptoms can start to come in very commonly between the age of 45 and women could still be not entering the menopause until they're 55. So there's quite a range. But it's 45 to 55. So if you're in that age group and you're getting flushes, sweats, difficulty remembering things, particularly names, aches and pains, poor sleep, lacking energy. Some women get itchy skin, they get a dry vagina, they get more bladder symptoms. So any combination of all of those, and I'm not giving you a fully exclusive list there, there's many more as well. And you're in that age category. Palpitations is another one, commonly presenting a lot increase in anxiety. Again, that combination could well be, in fact, highly likely to be menopause, but there can be other things contributing to that. So it's always important to do an assessment, have a look at how many symptoms you've got, and then take the opportunity to have a bit of an MOT. Okay, I'm not great at the moment. Let's just check everything else out. Do an NHS health check at your practice. Have access to checking out, is the thyroid okay? Am I heading towards diabetes? Am I anemic? All of those things could be coming into play. The other big marker of this is what's happening with periods. And without any sort of influence of contraception and some other treatments in there, the periods tend to get chaotic at that stage in life. Okay, so chaos is certainly very common. Some women may have perfectly normal periods coming every month and then all of a sudden stop and never have another one. They tend to be the minority. There's a lot of women who have to put up with a lot of chaos. And again, that bleeding pattern could all be due to the menopause, but there can be other more serious reasons for that, and we would want to check that out and make sure there's no cancer in the womb and no problems with the ovaries in terms of cancers as well. In that situation.
When you're describing chaos, Dr. Gibson, do you mean irregular, or perhaps they could start or stop? What might one of the listeners need to be looking for?
The bleeding pattern might be coming closer together, might be varying a lot. So 1 month it might be 2 weeks between each episode of bleeding. Another month it might be that it doesn't come until 5 weeks later, 6 weeks later. Often much longer bleeding, and often it can also get a few days bleeding, a gap, and then another few days bleeding. So it could be completely unpredictable, having gone from knowing when they're going to menstruate pretty well, having been a fairly orderly, typical pattern. They know what's happening, and then all of a sudden it starts to go out and become irregular. And I encourage women to track what happens for 3 months. 1 month not being quite right is usually not a problem. If it's going, it's irregular, frequent, prolonged over three months, then that gives good information to have a conversation with your nurse or your doctor to say, this is happening to me. I really think I need to talk about it. It's hampering my life. Often we will find women who really have to stop doing some of the things that they would normally do, their social activities, going to work. Sometimes they can't work because the bleeding pattern is so chaotic and so heavy.
Really? They can be that heavy?
It can, yes. People can, and of course it causes problems in terms of holding a job down.
Yes, of course.
They feel it's not so possible to go to work because of the level of bleeding, and then of course they get a poor sick history, and sometimes they give up a job rather than be disciplined through job. because of all the chaos that's going on. And actually, it
Gosh, you
doesn't have
actually
to
come
be
across
like
that.
that.
You actually come across that patients actually give up work. They just
Yes,
can't face work.
that can happen. That can
Gosh,
happen. But say it doesn't.
that's
It
awful.
doesn't need to. We can help you to navigate this and get better control of these symptoms and carry on with the things that are important.
So if we've got listeners and they're feeling they're getting any symptoms you described, what ways are there that you can help patients, Doctor?
So the first thing I think is to say have a look on the NHS website. I'll give you another email address of another organisation called Women's Health Concern. You can look up things on there, and if you can find a diary about periods, or even just an app on your phone, or just track it. What's happening with the bleeding? What symptoms are you getting? Okay, and then a consultation with your GP or a women's health specialist in your practice or the nurse to say, this is happening to me, and how it's affecting you. So as I say, do think about, are you changing what you do because of these symptoms? That's important to know about. And so having a consultation about that, but gather your thoughts to start with. What do I want to talk about? Can I read something up on the NHS website, or I can talk a little bit more about other places where you can find more information that we have across Luton, and seek some help from your practice. If you find that you don't really get the response from your practice that you were hoping for, okay, then I would say don't give up. See if you can talk to someone else in the practice, or see if there's someone else that you know who's getting some help with their menopause, and see how they're getting their help, because I do really want women to be able to access help in the right way. And we have got specialist menopause clinics now running in Luton, so women can be referred there if they need for more than what their own practice can offer.
I'm very lucky, Dr. Nina. You are part of my GP practice, so you are a fantastic. The GP practice that you're part of is fantastic. I cannot rate them enough. When it comes to women's health as well, they're really fantastic. But if a woman what would you say to a woman that's feeling like she can't talk, or she feels that she's going to be put with a male doctor and is feeling uncomfortable? What would you say to her about that?
Yeah, I mean, I would prefer to talk to a female doctor about women's health things, absolutely. And in fact, I think most of the women's health specialists are women, because, you know, we understand we're connected that way. And I think asking to speak with a woman is a perfectly reasonable thing to do. And most practices, I would say, across Luton can accommodate that. You may have to wait slightly longer, but asking and being clear about, you know, I want to talk about women's health. I want to talk about menopause. And most practices will direct to the female GPs and nurses to deal with that. In terms of other places to get support, women at the Luton All Women's Centre have been running a series of menopause programs. They will be coming with some more dates shortly. So a 4-session program of women discussing with women how they are navigating menopause, supporting each other, and that can be really, really helpful. And so one of the messages I like to give to people today is, do start to have that conversation in your circle of friends, in your families, maybe intergenerational as well, because, you know, the older generation have been through this. They might have some pearls of wisdom for their younger generations about how to deal with this and to be better informed. But don't give up on the first attempt. If you feel like you've not been able to get the help that you need, then please do try again. And there is, as I say, a women's health women's health clinics and menopause clinic at Lee Vale, because we are the women's health centre for Luton. We are what we're calling a hub, but it's not just about being in a building. So mention, well, could I go to the women's hub in Lee Vale, please? It's quite hard for a clinician to go, no, you can't. Because we do recognise where our levels of expertise are, and that actually some people are better at that one subject than another.
Can I just
Does that
ask
help?
Yes, that does. Can I just ask, when you say Lee Vale, is it all the practices, including the one in Bushmead and Farley Hill, or is it just the Liverpool Road branch?
So we work as so we've got 3 sites in Luton and 1 in Ampthill, all coordinated together. So some of them, the majority of the women's clinics are running out of Liverpool Road, in part because of where the kit and the equipment is, really, in part. But in terms of the expertise, it is spread across the whole of the population and the sites. Yeah, so it doesn't matter which site you happen to use as a building, then the expertise will be accessible to you.
Also, as well, you've kind of touched on it briefly, but I do want to talk about ovarian cancer and uterine cancer symptoms, because often women do think, oh, it's just the menopause, but in fact it can be cancer. Do you want to just run through them quickly, just so that women are aware of them as well, and if they think, even if they think it's menopause, it could be this? Yeah, so ovarian cancer is difficult to diagnose. It's often called the silent cancer, and symptoms are vague. So it might be bloating, being a bit full, not eating as much as previously because I feel a bit full. So that's one of the areas of symptoms. Occasionally, it will interfere with bleeding patterns, but that's not so common. The other thing is perhaps a pressure symptom or a feeling of discomfort and pain low down in the abdomen, one side or the other. So if there is a tumour growing and it's forming a cyst, a simple cyst is one thing, and that's fine, and we can tell which is a simple cyst on a scan. But one that's got some on the scan will show up as sort of mixed tissues and what we call complex and blood vessels coming into it. That we only tell the difference between them on a scan, really, but they can both give pressure symptoms. So pushing on the bladder, just feeling niggling pain. Don't ignore these. It could be something else. It could just be wind. But actually, as you're getting, say, mid-40s onwards, then those are the ages where ovarian cancer, we just need to be alert and think about these things. And as GPs, we have quite a low threshold for any vague symptoms like that in a woman. We would do a blood test, which isn't very specific, but it is a blood test that you can do, and a scan, and take things from there. The cancer in the uterus itself, again, starts to become a little bit more common from the age of mid-40s onwards, and that tends to give bleeding between periods. So bleeding between, sorry,
the pattern's quite different then.
Yeah, so bleeding between periods is more worrying than having a regular period and nothing in between. Okay, so bleeding between periods could be something in the uterus. It can also be off the cervix. I'll come to that in a moment. Women bleeding longer, so beyond the age of 50, and having heavy periods, we tend to do a test and have a sample from the uterus, just to make sure the cells are okay. Because the older you get, if you're still bleeding, you start to think, is there something there that shouldn't be there? Is there a cancer there? So it's the bleeding in between periods. Cervix, and bleeding from the cervix is a worrying symptom, and that is more common with bleeding after intercourse. and bleeding in between periods. Really important to attend for your regular cervical smear. You get called by the NHS to do that. Please do respond to those appointments and do go for your screening, because we can prevent advanced cervical cancer. The whole point is to try and pick up the warning signs early on that screening test. It is a bit embarrassing, always done by females, always with empathy and attention to sort of trying to relax you to do that. Just get it done, please. We would really like to see you for that.
As someone, I'd like to say, as someone that has had precancerous cells and has just had treatment for that recently, I do implore women to go and have their smear test, because it can save your life. And while it is uncomfortable, it is a short amount of pain for a very short amount of time. Having cancer is much more uncomfortable. Having seen family members die of cancer, having cancer is much more painful than a quick smear test.
Dr. Pearson, we'd like to thank you so much for joining us. Unfortunately, we're down to the last sort of 15 seconds now. Thank you so much for giving your time to us this Friday night.
Thank you very much.
That was excellent. We learned so much. God bless you. Have a lovely weekend, Dr. Pearson.
Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.